But the crappy would draw. I mean, no pun intended. That was not planned. Paul Casey. I mean, come on.
And he responded, I guess I should have been more excited about those crappy picks. Phil is a guy with no arms, no legs, and a hole, which is about where you find Mickelson right now also.
Hey everyone, welcome to Reading the Green and our Golf DFS podcast. My name is Mike, joined with Jordan and Kyle on Tuesday, March 29th. We have a great episode in store. Before we get into the good stuff, Reading the Green is a unique fantasy golf resource that combines great player picks with insights on which fantasy experts actually give the best advice. The result is a biased-free approach that ensures you're not swayed by any one or two experts you tune into. With us, you always know where the consensus plays are each week. If you like this approach, or more importantly, you have fun listening to us, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is the best way to show your support. Even if you're a podcast listener, go out and subscribe on YouTube. Of course, you can find our podcasts on any of the major podcast platforms and follow us on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS. We have a listener league. We play DraftKings Golf DFS with our listeners every week. We'll talk about that a little more in the second half. This week we have the Match Play Championship recap, and of course our Valero Texas Open preview. We might even talk a little Masters and a whole bunch of other stuff. Of course, we do have the Final Four coming up in a few days. Some blue blood matchups, which I want to get your guys' takes. I think is the right thing to have for a Final Four. Would we have liked to see St. Peter's there? Sure. But I don't want to see a 30-point blowout on championship weekend. I'd rather that happen in the Elite Eight.
You're right, but I don't like it. I don't like cheering for any of these four teams. Too many shades of blue for my liking. But yeah, you knew the cliff was coming for St. Peter's, unfortunately. I kept betting against them, waiting for it to happen. Found a hit when it did. But probably better basketball this way. I just won't have as much rooting interest.
Yeah, it's tough to root for Duke, North Carolina, well, especially Duke. Who likes Duke here? Yeah, no one.
Well, I'm an ACC guy, and so it's really hard to root for Duke. But I kind of, Coach K's farewell tour, I'm always in for, I'm like a good story. And so...
It's rigged. Not really.
Well...
Villanova, Duke, Kansas, UNC, none of them really piqued my interest.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You gotta take one.
I'm going for whoever gets behind the biggest early, and then I can root for them to come back, I guess.
Okay. I'm going UNC, just because first-year coach, right, Hubert Davis.
Yep.
They're an 8 seed. Like, I think 8 seed's the lowest seed to ever win it.
I think so, because I think Syracuse might have been the lowest for the highest seed for a long time.
Wasn't like NC State the crazy play?
Oh, maybe they were.
Yeah,
they might have been.
Kansas might have been low ranked. Well, this is where low high.
Connecticut, actually, the year
they were a 7. They were a 7.
They won the
Big
East tournament, and then
I am pulling for Villanova this weekend because the only bracket I did after we bashed brackets, I threw one in on the DraftKings loyalty tiers bracket challenge, and I thought Villanova might have been a low owned play, so I took them to win, and I think I'm currently in I'm near the top. Like I think I'm winning like $25 currently, and it's not $50,000, but I think with Villanova victory, and I think I'll move up nicely.
Well, I do have Villanova in our pool that we talked about last week, so I guess I'll be okay if they win. That reminds me, I did throw a bracket in for that challenge. I haven't looked since I did it.
You have to go in the sportsbook. It's in the sportsbook app. You have to go into pools in the sportsbook app, and you can go find it. So
I don't even remember who I took. So we're gonna have a live look here while these guys talk about it more.
Actually,
correction: Villanova is the only 8 seed to ever win in 1985.
My history didn't go back that far.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So while Kyle's looking up his DraftKings bracket that he lost track of, Jordan, probably a good time to talk about what is the biggest day of the year for swag golf accessories. We haven't talked about it in a few weeks.
Yeah.
It's all building up to this moment on Thursday night or Friday morning at midnight. What do you got?
It's going to be chaos. I think they've already previewed, 10 different things that they're going to sell.
But this is their anniversary.
Yes, it's their
drop.
swag-iversary. So every April, they launched April 1st 3 years ago. Maybe 4 years ago now. I think this will be the 4th swag-iversary. So every April 1st, they go bananas at midnight and then just do a bunch of random drops throughout the day. Some of it's ugly. Some of it's beautiful. You don't know what's going to be high quantity or low quantity. You just have to go off what you think looks good and hope other people thinks it looks good as well. But no, I've heard they take down the whole site right before midnight on Thursday night. So it pops back up and there's 30 items on there. Because there's going to be towels and there's a bag they've already showed. There's going to be markers. And you just have to go for one thing and hope you get it. And if you don't, you probably missed out on 17 other things that all sold out at the same time. Because everyone's going for different items.
Yeah.
No pressure, huh?
Yeah.
And so it starts at midnight and there's a whole bunch of stuff. And then they drop stuff like through the night just to get people to stay up all night. And
Yep. Through the night, through the day.
so we're going to have shifts, right? We're going to have a coordinated effort.
I'll put the 1-year-old on it. So
Yeah. It'll be the most chaos we've ever experienced with a swag release. That's for sure. Usually it's one item, maybe 2 items. There'll be probably 20 to 30 items that all pop up right at midnight, and then more things that come after that they haven't even showed yet.
All right. Well, I guess more to come in a week.
Yeah.
To see what kind of haul we get. I want to talk about the beers that we're drinking before we get into golf. Kyle, do you have an update on your DraftKings pool?
Yeah, I'm winning money somehow, but I'm dead in the water.
Okay, so you have no more teams left.
No teams left.
I actually had Duke and Villanova in the Final Four in that, so it was a.
I tried to go contrarian. I went with the Mike approach, and
but you picked.
I had not super contrarian, but contrarian to my other brackets. Yeah, and I'm dead in the water.
Okay, all right. Well, let's maybe switch to something that we do.
Beers. So we started with Noon Whistle. We've talked about them before, but we had a new brew tonight, Hop Prism Blue IPA. It was pretty solid. I enjoyed it. It's what we started with tonight, and now we are on to something Jordan brought.
Yeah, but the Noon Whistle Blue didn't taste like what was that? The blueberry beer we had the bad beer week.
That was the Grain Belt blueberry lager.
Grain Belt Blue,
which Kyle then informs me that Grain Belt Northeast also tastes like blueberries, so I'm really just confused.
Yep. But yeah, now we're drinking a collab between Modist, which is one of the pod's favorite breweries, and Blackstack, Crippling Predictability. It's a DDH New England triple IPA. So there's a lot going on, but it's
a mouthful.
Pretty tasty, yes. 10%. I'm glad we're sharing it amongst 4 people. Or 3 people.
I was like, who else
is already seen double.
Hey guys, you saw that tweet earlier. I was drunk at 9 a.m.
It's pretty good. It's not too boozy, so I think we'll have another good one for the second half here to keep us going. All right, golf. We had 2 events this past weekend. We had the match play. That's what we're going to talk most about. But there was the Corrales tournament in the Dominican. And there's a couple of the golf. I didn't really pay any attention to the golf down there in the Dominican. But Kyle, the most interesting piece from DraftKings for us was
Mike and I entered the exact same lineup in our one contest we did, without talking, without corresponding at all. We both decided to tail one contributor,
Brandon Gadula, number fire.
Yeah.
Randomly. Didn't talk about it.
No, didn't talk about it. He's been doing well in our model, and I happened to notice that he had an article out for the event. So I was like, hey, he's doing well, whatever. It's a low stakes. I'll throw it in. And it's not even that we both tailed him. He had 10 to 12 picks mentioned in his article, a couple at each price point. So the fact that we both tailed that article and then still came up with the same lineup is amazing. But this whole thing goes one step further because the contest we were in.
It was a small like buddies contest
Yeah,
with half a dozen people.
But what happened, Jordan?
Yeah, well, you schlubs got tied by me who didn't look at any articles and just picked 6 people that he knew their names. And I even picked some Gutenberg. Like, wasn't he an actor? Like, I don't know.
We all ended up with the exact same number of
Yes.
DraftKings points.
400.50.
And so we split a couple bucks.
And I needed a Jonathan Vegas par on 18 to get into the tie.
Right.
And I got it.
Yeah, so for
A-hole
a week,
couldn't give me a birdie.
a week-long event, not just a showdown, all 3 of us ended up with the exact same score.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
That's pretty
do
cool.
we even have any overlap between our?
I think Jordan had
lineups?
one player. I think we all shared one player. I can't remember who it was.
I didn't have that schlub Dumbin, though.
Well, I was gonna say, I know Kyle and I both had him, and here we go again. We get the in-tournament WDs, which fortunately we had the inside look because Mark Hubbard let us all know on Twitter through his brother that they're all pooping their brains out all night. Everybody in the house.
Yeah.
But all the rest pushed through, not Joel.
Mark Hubbard chipped in on 18 to make the cut, I think.
And yelled, "I'm the greatest golfer alive," apparently.
But, like, did no one tell him not to drink the water? Like, he drank a little too much water in the shower or something.
Or their chef is fired.
Yeah.
I really did. I really appreciated the inside look because what I took from it, what I inferred was that Hubbard was saying he was up, I assume with his daughter, like all
I didn't
night.
know who that other name was. City Match.
He said I was up with someone all night because she was sick, and so I kind of was like, oh, okay, so here's a dad. I assumed a dad in the Dominican trying to work, but his kid is sick and everybody else is sick and he can't get any sleep and he's got to go to work during the day. I just thought it was kind of it was relatable.
Fair.
It was relatable. But
I don't know if it was his daughter though. We should probably cross-reference that.
we don't know.
Yeah.
It was something. He was up for some reason.
But the crappy withdrawal. I mean, no pun intended. That was not planned. Paul Casey. I mean, come on. Here we are again on a player that has obviously some sort of ailment. The PGA Tour's official account puts out a tweet on, I believe, Tuesday, saying he's good to go and is popular in betting markets this week. And then he just throws a wrench in everything in this unique event and giving 3 points to 3 guys by playing 2 holes.
So not only did he give the 3 points to those 3 guys, which at least was even, it wasn't clear what DraftKings and the other, I don't even know about other forms of betting and how they handle this. DraftKings flip-flop back and forth. Like, I was watching it when his match with Noren went final, trying to figure out what DraftKings was actually going to do, and it went from being Noren won that match 10-8 to Noren have that match. And I think where it ended up was they gave him halves in DraftKings, but at one point.
But they gave them all the points.
But I think they gave him points maybe for the win. It's unclear where it ended up, but it was honestly back and forth. I was texting my brother like, "Oh, Noren's gonna get 50 points for this match. Oh no, Noren only got 15 points for it." Something,
I stopped looking, but I did. I mean, I looked after the first match that happened, and unfortunately, I had Paul Casey in the Reading the Green League, which kind of torpedoed my week there. But we need something. We need injury points.
Don't talk about torpedoing yourself there because you beat Mike and I in the RTG League this week. So that's how bad ours were. I brought up the rear.
I don't think anybody made any money in it. We'll get to that. We'll get to that a little bit later in the listener league results. But anyways, it was a really weird situation. I think, he literally he didn't withdraw from the match with Noren until Noren was on the tee box hitting his tee shot.
It's weird.
And so it was very strange. If golf is really going to embrace this the sports betting market like they say they are, they're going to have to do something here because this is becoming way too prevalent.
We need range reports on Wednesdays. Somebody that's watching what's happening on the driving range or the practice rounds and notes of possible ailments, just like any other sport.
Maybe we stop doing our picks podcast and start to do a PGA health podcast.
This isn't a bad idea. We'll go to every tournament.
We go to every tournament.
It's a great idea.
But we're only there Wednesday.
Yeah.
I could probably take every Wednesday off of work to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a good idea.
If you're out there and want to bankroll us to do that, reach out. We're ready.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of the other stories around the match play because I guess, first of all, I love this event. It's not executed perfectly. The course is a good course for match play. It's not the perfect venue, but I love seeing the guys compete this way, and it's so different. It's so refreshing. I think there's probably a couple things the PGA Tour could do if they wanted to make this a really, really great event, but I understand there's a lot of forces at play that, why they do the pod format and all that. I mean,
and for forces at play, you mean money in their pockets,
money and sponsors. Yeah, exactly.
We don't beat around the bush here on the pod.
I understand, but like Friday is like a completely, it's a meaningless day to fans. Like you can't possibly understand what's going on, what needs to happen if you had any money on the line. How you figure out? I mean, Kyle, you were literally drawing, a full page flowchart on what had to happen.
I had fun making that.
But honestly, like, it's really hard to understand. You would like it maybe to be, if this guy beats this guy, he goes to the next round. Like, that's not hard to understand.
A true bracket style.
Yeah.
NCAA tournament.
And there's some things that they could do if they want to increase the number of rounds played. But anyways, I love seeing the guys compete this way. I think we talked a lot last week about strategy, and the broadcast did a pretty good job of talking about how players were putting the pressure on each other and making certain decisions, giving what position they were playing in or what needed to happen. And so I think it just should be really fun for golf fans. I want to comment on the buzzsaw effect. Right, this tournament is not about who the best player is. It's about who you play at what time and in what day you catch them on. And, Kevin Kisner dismantled JT. And JT in their third round match, JT was 3 under through 8 holes and he was down 4. Like, what are you going to do? Like, you played the wrong guy. JT could have been 3 under through 8 holes and played somebody else and been up 4. And that's just the beauty of match play, and I'm really glad to see some of that come out this week.
Yeah. Kisner's just stone cold killer when it comes to match play. Man, he just has the right mentality, mindset, and that look in his eye when he's out there. He's fun to watch.
I think I commented last week about like not being a jerk to other players during match play, and Kevin Kisner's like, I'm gonna be a jerk. I'm gonna be super annoying. That's my strategy, and it pays off.
You know who else it paid off for? Dick Bland.
Dick came through with the dub.
Man, we joked about him last week, but he really got up for the moment.
He did. He's got that grit, and I think he got to play Bryson. Like, what was he doing out there? Like he got to play.
His first drive ended up in a tent underneath a table.
Yeah,
like good start to the day, bro. Tato chip.
Speaking of drives, I mean that course. I mean Kevin Kisner is driving 370-yard holes with no effort. The course was so firm. Depending on where the wind was going, I mean, I think at the time I was writing up some of the notes, like I was watching Brooks hit like a 440-yard drive on 12. Like they can really hit some bombs out there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I liked watching the course play a little better earlier in the week when they had the wind out of the north and it wasn't quite as prime of conditions. Mm-hmm. Felt like they had to do a little bit more strategic on their golf shots. As opposed to Saturday and Sunday, yeah, they're just letting it rip.
And that's the thing about match play, too. We talked about is like no one swing can cost you the whole match. And so you're hitting driver on these holes that are downwind, and you're hitting it as far as you possibly can. And in stroke play, you're not going to swing like that. But we got to see guys just like...
Wait, that's not how you swing
there's a difference
every
between,
driver?
There's a difference between
how else am I supposed to get it out there 230 yards?
On a good day.
Jordan, there's a reason that you shoot 82s and I shoot 72s.
Yeah, and it's not any of the practice that you put in that I don't, or the amount of beers I consume where you don't.
Anyways, Kyle, you had some takeaways from the match play, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, I think the primary thing is I'm going to go a little lighter next year at this event. I'm gonna go heavier in GPP contests as opposed to cash. Just it's such a crapshoot, and especially there were some nice plays in the model, which is based on other people's models essentially, but there's just so much you can't account for. And like you said, running into a buzzsaw when you're 4 under through 7 holes and you're down 3.
And that's in that case, even in an event, in a stroke play event, if JT and Kisner are both playing well, that's okay. If you have one of them, that's fine. Here, it cost you to have the wrong one.
Correct. But so it's fun. I'm not shying away. I'm going to do it next year. I'm just going to kind of change my approach. Go a little lighter in the overall money.
A little lighter.
Yeah. And definitely just, hey, go for tournaments. Hope you catch lightning in a bottle and have a fun weekend. Yeah. Overall, I had a couple of GPP contests that did okay, but it definitely was not my best weekend.
You really had to be lucky and just pick, have 3 or 4 guys that.
It's amazing though. If you got 3 through and then had one guy make the final 4, you were in the money. And it didn't matter, not necessarily high in the money, but you were in. That's all it took.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're gonna pick Kisner.
Oh yes, right?
Kisner,
Scottie
Scheffler.
How do you not
right?
Scottie? I don't care about ownership.
Yeah.
There
are people that are just better at match play.
All right, so Scottie Scheffler wins. Obviously, moves up to number 1 in the world. It took him about 40 days from his first win to get to number 1, which is a whole year faster than even Tiger. And not really sure what to make of it. So tried to get some input on Twitter on what let's make some long-term predictions on Scottie Scheffler, because this is sort of an unprecedented rise by a guy that you really wouldn't even have thought to do this. And so Jordan, you're sticking with your prediction that at the end of the day, Scottie Scheffler is another version of Steve Stricker.
Well, I'm sticking with it. He hasn't won a major yet.
He hasn't got to play a major yet, really.
What he's played? How many?
He did finish top 10 at the U.S. Open a couple years ago.
Yeah, he's great, and that's I think he can become more than Steve Stricker, but right now he's just so vanilla. Mm-hmm. Right? So
that your take isn't necessarily his upside of golf; it's who he is in the golf world.
Yes. On top of he hasn't won a major yet. Yes, he's won 3 of the past however many tournaments, but there's been a lot of other people that have gotten hot and you didn't hear of 2 years later.
Right.
Right? Is he a Tiger Woods or is he David Duval? Right? David Duval was awesome for 5 years? Mm-hmm. And now he's just getting on the senior tour.
He had vertigo,
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. All right, Kyle, who at the end of the day, Scottie Scheffler is who?
So this is the comparison's a little different since I'm comparing modern era to modern era.
Fair enough.
And I'm not just going.
Are you saying Steve Stricker's not modern era?
I'm not going there just because he's Texas either, but I think he's going to be pretty comparable when we look back in 15, 20 years to Jordan Spieth. Not just the Texas connection, but they both reached number 1 at age 25. Granted, Spieth had a major under his belt at that point, and it has 3. But he's 3 years older than Scottie, and I think it's reasonable that he could take home, the way he's playing right now, 3 in the next 3 years, and end up eventually with a similar career path. Maybe he's about a year behind where Spieth started, but
I think that's a pretty good. I like that. I think their games are. Spieth is just the ultimate shot maker, but Scottie's kind of proving to be that way too, where he's not the best at anything. He just kind of does everything pretty well and knows how to, at the end of the day, like Bay Hill's a great example. He just hit the right shots and hung around long enough to be in contention. And Spieth, 5 years ago, that's what he was doing.
I mean, he's won 3 very different events.
Yep.
And that speaks to his longevity and be able to win different events and hang in different contests. And yeah, I like that.
Our Twitter followers suggested Zach Johnson.
I was gonna say we have to talk about that one. Mm-hmm. Help me see that comparison.
Well, we're gonna have to reach out to Pete Koziak 3 and see what the rationale is there. I would guess maybe the thought is wins a couple majors, competes. But see, I think Zach's game is very specific to certain courses, right?
Correct.
I think maybe the outlier is that he wins the British, and I can't really remember the circumstances by which he did, but like, you know, Augusta sets up really well because it can really reward players that, you know, play smart and have a great short game. Scottie, I think, just has a game that sort of transcends, like you just said, Kyle, transcends like multiple styles of courses. And so you're going to see him compete on the long, hard courses. You're going to see him compete on the short game courses. And so you know, maybe credential-wise, he wins a few majors, and he looks like Zach Johnson at the end of the day. But I think his game certainly is a little more elevated.
Can't comment. I didn't see the comparison from the game standpoint, but you did point out Scottie's hats a couple.
You don't like Zach Johnson's hats, huh?
No, Zach Johnson wears his sunglasses all weird. So I'm like, is it just something about wearing weird stuff on their head? Or I love Zach Johnson, Iowa guy. You know, like
I figured.
Iowa guys.
My brother was over this weekend, and we were watching one of the matches, and we commented that Scottie's hats maybe looked a little more formed. They seemed like they fit his head a little better. So he must have got word that we were talking about his hats.
Yeah, I didn't notice it.
He's got money. He's got money now. He can afford the nicer hats.
Doesn't have to shop in the tennis shop.
Yeah, and like, you know, the Zach Johnson comparison. As soon as Scottie Scheffler starts hitting his balls on practice swings, then it's set. Right? That seems like such an Iowa thing. They can't even do a practice swing right.
I mean, it's crazy that Zach Johnson has done that like 4 times in an event.
Like normally you're like 12 inches away, and he is up on it.
It's not even just dribblers. The last one, that Waste Management was a toe rocket.
All right. Well, I think it's a good debate. I think, obviously, we can only assume so many things when somebody rises this fast, but I think it's probably safe to assume that this is not, you know, the next Tiger Woods. I think we will see him come back down to earth here at some point, like many of the players have, even Spieth, but it's kind of fun to think about what's happening.
Yeah, when you come on at 25, you're not going to be Tiger Woods.
Right.
Right? Like, he's
point.
on a hot streak. He'll be good. He'll have years where he's top 5, years where he's 20th.
There are so many more competitors on tour too. So many good players that like it's really hard to sustain this in 150 player events.
Yeah, and like I don't think he has any kids yet. That'll hurt him. Like the only reason that didn't hurt Tiger is because he had 37 other ladies that he would go with. Right? Like he always had at least one.
Eventually, it did hurt him.
He had one nanny for his kids and one for himself. It worked out really well for Tiger.
Jordan, you always have the hot takes in that department. All right, so Listener League. Somehow, you know, somebody had to win Listener League. So this was. Jordan, help me pronounce this one. This is JYATD.
Yep, my brother.
All right, takes down
with a very impressive score, by the way.
It was above 700.
Like 3 guys make the cut. He texted?
I think he had Connors, DJ, and Kisner.
I texted him today because I'd forgotten to congratulate him. He responded, "Hi, I guess I should have been more excited about those crappy picks."
Well, he did very well. He smoked the field. Derek Howard comes in second, and Arano WM12 takes third. We talked a little bit about our model performance. It was really hard to get a straight read here. We had some good plays, but you really had to piece together a few things. Reed Fowler, his article we tweeted out, did pretty well this week. 2 of his 3 picks made the final 16, and frankly, like, if I would have had every lineup have 2 of 6 as a starting point, I think that would have been pretty good. Like you said, Kyle, if you had 3 make the cut and 1 guy win a couple matches, you were doing pretty well. So Reed Fowler with a nice piece this week for this tournament. So that's the match play. Super fun to watch. Looking forward to it next year. I know there's going to be some decisions around whether it stays at Austin Country Club or not. Anything else you guys want to comment on from the golf this weekend?
Skipped over a landmine, Mike. I'm not gonna let you get away without that.
Oh, it is in there. I did skip over it. Wow, we pumped up Tommy Tables, Tom Hoagie last week, didn't we?
No.
I probably talked for at least 12 months since the last match play that event about how good these Pine to Palm golfers are at match play. Van Rooyen,
who went 0-3.
Tommy Tables 0-3. Not a good showing. Not a good showing.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year. I had a lot of Tom Hoagie this week.
Maybe they'll come back to the Pine de Palm this year and warm up their game.
It turns out DraftKings knows what they're doing when they place Tom Hoagie in the bottom of the bucket price-wise.
It's a good point. He did command a lot of ownership, and we all paid the price for it. Okay, let's take a quick break. We'll come back and talk about the Valero Texas Open. Welcome back. We have our Valero Texas Open preview. But first, we have a listener league. Reading the Green plays DraftKings with its listeners every week. That league is available. Check out on Twitter for a link to join. We'd love to have a few more folks join this week, especially ahead of the Masters, and pump up our league numbers a little bit, get a few more dollars in the pool. You can also DM us on any of our social media platforms and ask for the link to join. So looking forward to playing that with everyone again.
Yeah, feel free to slide into our DMs. We won't tell our wives.
Sure. Okay, one more comment before we do the Valero Texas Open preview. Open another beer. This one's perfectly fitting for the second half of the show. Hot sports opinions from Fair State Brewery. It's kind of tastes like water after the 10% beer we just drank.
Probably not the best sequence of beers. And the weather's kind of crappy here tonight, and where we're recording, this seems more like a beer for post mowing the lawn, sitting on the deck on a Saturday afternoon when you have the grill fired up, huh?
Talking about sports.
Talking about sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we have a couple of hot sports takes now about the Valero Texas Open. So the PGA Tour goes over to TPC San Antonio, not too far from Austin. We have defending champ Jordan Spieth in the field. A lot of folks say don't bet against Jordan Spieth when he gets to play in his home state. He usually gets up for that type of competition. I did see an interesting nugget. We talk about this a little bit, and why we shouldn't be surprised when guys play well back-to-back. Yet most of the betting world is surprised. Right? We tend to fade players for back-to-back wins. And I saw that Jason Sobel had written that he likes to fade back-to-back winners. And his rationale was, for most players, that is going to be a very, very high point in their career with tons of pressure riding on it. And for them to do that again, and the pressure of expecting to do that again, most of them are going to fall short. And so he just believes that, like, back-to-back winners, just it's too much pressure to pull off.
I like that take. Especially in golf, you have to have so much go right to win an event. For it to happen at the exact same event, even if the course fits your style and fits your eye and stuff, is still pretty unlikely. Yeah. So I mean, I do think that we'll be kicking ourselves, and I think Rick Gehman then said, I'll be kicking myself if Jordan Spieth goes out and wins this, but like, I'm okay with that. Like, I'd like to see him win, but I don't need to bet on him because it just doesn't seem like the right play to necessarily just assume he's going to go back to back. But
that we did that same thing a couple weeks ago, and the guy repeated.
Sam Burns, he did. I know, but. Fine. All right.
It's happened twice already this year. You saw Victor Hovland.
He did. I don't know. That's not. And maybe the trend is it's the studs that go back to back. It's not the duds.
Fair. The industry is on this take this week, though. Spieth is not getting much love so far in the sheet.
Well, what do we got in the RTG model this week? What's floating to the top?
At this point, we have over 2 dozen contributors in, and leading the way with a 60% mention share is Rory. I'm kind of surprised, guys.
He's the most expensive player in the field this week.
60% is pretty dang high.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't usually play before big events, right?
He doesn't. I think what I've heard is that he didn't play last week in the match play, and that he's going to use this as his tune-up, and he'll take this very seriously, and he's looking to build some momentum going into next week.
That is one thing I will say, though. I don't buy into the whole, hey, it's only a tune-up mentality. I know some people would fade a big golfer before the Masters. I completely believe that if these guys are going to play the event, they're set out to win.
I just looked at an Instagram post where Spieth said, my goal this week is to get on a 10-day streak from Thursday to next Sunday.
I buy it completely. You know, if a guy is 4 off the cut with 2 holes to go on Friday afternoon, might he, relax a little bit? Maybe. But if they're entering this tournament to win it.
Yep. Well, that's Phil always played, right? I think Phil was always...
Who's Phil?
Tiger,
I'm sorry, who's Phil?
Tiger was never a play the week before. Phil was always a play in the tournament the week before. Phil is a guy with no arms and no legs and a hole, which is about where you find Mickelson right now also.
Well said.
Bryson lost one hand when we thought he did. He came back and played. I think Phil might only be a body and a head right now.
All right.
To the back to the mile. So coming at 50% mention share is Patton Kizzire. And so pretty good value there, $8,000 salary. And then we have Corey Connors. So people are expecting to continue his good form from last week. Aren't scared about playing 7 rounds and 5 days of competition golf. And he's getting 45% mention share at this point in time. Hopping over to MPI, I'll just throw out our top 3 names at this point. We have KH Lee, Gary Woodland, and Luke List all coming in with strong MPIs. And just a reminder what that mention power index means for us is the contributors that are on those 3 golfers have had a good track record over the last 2 years since we've been tracking this data.
And those 3 guys, too, have decent share percentage as well, all around 30%, 20 or 30%. So
as high as 40 for Woodland.
Yeah. So I think those are decent plays. We'll obviously see this will move around a little bit as we get a few more contributions in over the next 24 hours. So, Kyle, where are you leaning at this point? And I'm sure it's not necessarily guys within the group that we just mentioned, but where are you leaning as you look down the board?
3 in particular I have my eye on just below those top mention shares. First, I'm going to start with Brendan Steele. Former winner here, a little bit of a price break at $7,600. Coming in at 41% mention share this week. I will have him in my lineups along with Chris Kirk, also at 41% mention share. He's a little bit at the higher end, $9,400. Maybe would fit in nice to a salary to a lineup at that salary where you're doing a more of an even approach as opposed to a studs and duds type lineup. And then lastly, I'm going down a little bit to someone who I think is a little bit of a misprice, and that's Matt Neesmith. The last time out, we saw him take home a victory, and I believe he's only at 7,100 at this point in time. And it's getting decent love, 30% mention share or so. So I think he's certainly someone I'm going to have exposure to.
Who do you like, Jordan?
It's tough this week. I normally go heavy, like studs and duds, even if I'm not supposed to in a certain tournament. I literally can't make a lineup that is any interest of me doing that way. So I've got a bunch of no names. Which doesn't make me...
No names to Jordan is a little different than no names to the rest of them.
Yeah, which doesn't make me feel great. Like, Kirk, Kizzire, List, McNeely, Steele, Westwood. Like, okay, that's a fine set of lineups, but are you going to take that to Vegas and bet on it? No. You would never do that. So now I'm looking at it, I'm like, wow, I picked either a really crappy lineup or the model's really good. But no, so I think... The picks that I won't change, Patton Kizzire. I'm a big Zaire golf fan. He is also, so I'm going with him. And then I'm going totally off sheet here because I had money left over at the end, and there was Lee Westwood.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going Lee Westwood.
Did you guys see the Lee Westwood just Twitter feud going on this week?
No.
Well, he got called out by so Joe Beal, who is one of the senior writers at Golf Digest, basically called out made a comment. This was within the last couple of weeks. I thought it was this week about players going over to play in the Saudi League, and Lee Westwood being one of them. And he kind of like threw Jason Kokrak under the bus too, but talked about how like people are gonna love battling or seeing Lee Westwood, the 49-year-old Englishman, battle Jason Kokrak on the Saudi tour. And so Lee Westwood just like unleashed on him about being an ageist and all this stuff about, you know, it ultimately resulted in Lee Westwood blocking Joe Beal. And then, or no, Joe Beal blocking Lee Westwood, and then Lee Westwood like posting about it, and it was... Was
there a denial in there, or was it just an attack?
No, I think Lee Westwood, I want to say that like Lee West was probably trying to defend his position that he is going to go play on one of those tours, assuming they come to life, and like, you know, he didn't like being called out for it, and yeah, it was just really interesting.
You can't take the heat. Get out of the kitchen.
Now I have to change my lineup. I can't go for someone that's calling out people for being ageist. Yeah, you're old as. Trying not to go explicit on our podcast.
He's not.
You've never won a major. Like, you just go like.
Anyways, I mean, you can play Lee Westwood if you want, but
I'm gonna cut him from my team now, and now he's gonna make the cut and be a
cancel
top
culture.
10.
Cancel culture.
I do want Jordan's take on one guy that only has a couple mentions, but he's getting some love as a GPP specific play this week. Kevin Chappelle. What do you got, Jordan?
I didn't know David's brother was on the golf tour. What? Kevin Chappelle. I was looking through our model here and I was like, oh crap, who's he gonna bring up? Is it gonna be this Rasmus Højgaard? Or there's a Brandon Hagee? Paul Barjan? Who is that? What is this lineup? Like Martin Trainer? These people aren't golfers, right? Is this a pro-am? Can we bet on amateurs in this?
The Martin Trainer, the Desert Fox. Come on, man. He was great on the West Swing.
You know, at least I didn't say anyone that I immediately regretted, like, oh, wait, they're actually a good golfer. These guys are all no-names. Like, I didn't say Doc Redman. I could have made fun of that. I know he's a real golfer. He's done fairly well.
Kind of. Yeah. All right. Well, let me throw out a couple of picks, and maybe these are names you've heard of, Jordan. So I think Mav McNeely had the case of the buzzsaws in the match play. I thought he played great, dominated. I think it was Neiman in the first round, and so he's someone I'd look to carry some of that success over. Didn't have to play the weekend, and so kind of
him missing the weekend.
It really hurt.
Crushed me.
Well, he didn't lose, right? He went 2-1.
He lost in a playoff to Kevin Na, right?
Yeah,
I think he
halved his third match or his second match.
He gave up like a 4-hole lead.
Yeah.
In it. So, anyways,
that was the dagger in my weekend, right?
So I like McNeely carrying over some of that momentum. I think this tournament's ripe for some of the kind of boring journeymen to rise to the top. So I'll take Kevin Streelman.
So Lee Westwood.
But not guys that are going to go play in the Saudi League. You know, Kevin Streelman is safe at home here. And then I'll throw out KH Lee. You talked about misprices for Matt Neesmith. I think that KH Lee at 7,600 feels pretty low for this field, and in how good he's played in stronger field events. That might be a place where I can save a little money. So let's move on to tiers, Kyle. What are some areas we want to focus on if we're playing tiers?
Nice lead in there, Mike. Overall, there's going to be some tough decisions in tiers this week. I feel like every tier we look at, there's two pretty strong plays. So I'm going to go down to tier 6 because we have two of the guys we mentioned, KH Lee and Brendan Steele. I think you could go either way. As both have pretty strong mention share according to our contributors. They both have pretty strong MPI, certainly higher on the MPI from KH Lee's standpoint. So I'm probably going to end up with whoever I have less in my cash lineups and pivot to them in tiers. Certainly want exposure to both guys, but I think those are the two you need to look at for tier 6.
I see that you can get Ricky Fowler in tier 6 as well.
You can.
Wait, so you're going with an out-of-work porn actor over Ricky Fowler. Kyle, I need an explanation here. Brendan Steele over Ricky Fowler. Like, don't Google him on your work computer, listeners. You'll get in trouble.
I learned something tonight.
Jordan, you just have all the takes, right? You just have all the takes.
That's what Zero Prep does for you guys.
All right. So really, what we care about is the Masters, right? This is just to wet our whistle and tease us a little bit as we have to wait still another week until we get to see Augusta. Kyle, give me one thing you're looking forward to with the Masters this year.
Playing way too much money in DraftKings. Hopefully winning a lot.
Hopefully winning.
Because you know that the majors bring out a little more randomness because it attracts a few more casual players. But sure, I think that's a good... Jordan, you're not going this year. But
going this year. I'll change in my work setup. I changed the picture behind me to my Masters flag during Masters week. So that'll be changing here on Monday. Two hot takes. Tiger Woods is going to miss the cut, and it's not even going to be close. And the other one isn't even the Masters. The bigger sporting event next weekend is the Frozen Four, which the Gophers are back in for the first time in a while.
There's a Minnesota State matchup.
Yes, and the Gophers are probably going to lose because they've lost a lot to Minnesota State lately. But it's good to see them back.
Good Masters take.
And at this point, we have 2 people left listening.
Well, next week. So tell me if this is sacrilege or not. So next weekend, so my daughter's birthday is the day after my birthday. My birthday's on Sunday, Masters Sunday this year, and then her birthday is Monday. And I always am trying to have a daddy-daughter activity, and so really eyeing the 4:00 Sunday Minnesota Wild game to snag a couple of tickets to, which would be right during the middle of the final round.
Wow.
It's funny you brought that up. I looked at that same game and saw it was 4:00 on Sunday, Master Sunday, and decided against bringing it up to my son.
Well, I'm strongly leaning doing it because there's so few games that we could go to fit the little kids' schedules. So it is very possible that I am watching it on my phone and then watching on recording. So we'll see.
That'll be it's a great way to spend $250 is to watch the Masters on a 6-inch screen.
Mm-hmm. But I'd be at the Wild game. Anyways, not for the podcast. Let's we'll see. We'll see what actually happens. So kind of looking forward to the Valero, really looking forward to the Masters in a couple weeks. We will be back, of course, in a week with results from the Valero Texas Open, and then have our big Masters preview ahead of what is going to be certainly the highlight of the year so far on the PGA Tour. See ya.